Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about The 100, episode 604, titled The Face Behind the Glass, which premiered Tuesday, May 21st, 2019 on the CW. I'm roughly recording 15 minutes after the episode is aired, so huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, then come back to see what I have to say about the episode. Otherwise, my other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Please go watch the episode, because then you can fully understand why I'm so angry right now by how the episode ended. So I'm going to try to do this in 20 minutes, because there really is a lot to talk about. So let's start the clock and let's begin with what happened in this episode. So, random tidbit. This is the 75th episode of the series. So it's a cool mile marker there. So 25 more to go to that number 100. So let's do this show. Some good for it. Anyways, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, timeline-wise, it is the day after the events of 603. Bellamy even makes note of the fact that it's been a day since he left Octavia when he denied her access to the transport ship. Also, he stated that it's been 3 days since they lost Monty and Harper, so they must have been awake from cryosleep for at least 3 days. So that's a little timeline there. A lot has happened to them in 3 days. I'm just saying. But I like those little tidbit mile marker stuff to at least let me know how time is passing for them. So there's that. Episode reminder, though, is the fact we do see the naming day ceremonies or traditions or whatever going full force in this episode. The episode objective is figuring out what is naming day. So there's that as well. Episode breakdown, I pretty much picked up on, I guess you can say 3 different storylines. I'm trying to figure out where that last one was. Let me just type it up. Okay, so there's that. So first storyline was the naming day ceremonies for sure. Second one, mechanical refuge. And the third one being escaping capture. So the first one deals with the naming day ceremony. This is Delilah being celebrated as the host before she becomes Priya the 7th. So we get traditions, parties, all to represent the 4 pillars of sanctum, which are repent, renew, rejoice, and rebirth. And now that we know what exactly happens during naming day, rebirth truly is the case. So there's that. We also find out just who the spy within sanctum that is working for the children of Gabriel. So we do get that. They end up killing themselves before questioning. So there's that. But from our understanding, apparently they're meant to be the good guys. And I can understand why after seeing what actually goes behind naming day. So there's that. But we'll get into that later. That's a lot of character and tidbit stuff right there. But second storyline is mechanical refuge. So this is where we get Raven being drawn to the motor shop. And she ends up working on a motorcycle for the first time. She ends up being the mechanic there as well. And they kind of hit it off from the looks of it. The third storyline is escaping capture. So this deals with Octavia trying to escape with Rose, which is the kidnapped child from the previous episode. So she's trying to get them to escape the children of Gabriel. And Deoza and Rose's bodyguard named Jade intervenes to kill a majority of the children of Gabriel. Unfortunately, Rose is killed in the process accidentally. So now Deoza and Octavia are off to make a new deal, which I'll bring up later on, which will be in tidbits. So there is that. But last moments of the episode is Josephine. That's right, Josephine from the flashbacks from 200 plus years ago wakes up in Clark's body. So Clark is now the host of Josephine Lightborn. And I'm so frustrated with that. I'm just so annoyed. Just when Clark was trying to start anew and start fresh and finally have peace in her life, it's taken away from her so some other person could take her body and have that fresh start. That just seems not fair at all. So we'll get into that later. But character-wise, let's go into that. For Bellamy, we still see him grieving over not only Monty and Harper, since it's only been 3 days for him, but also leaving Octavia behind. So there's that. Just one moment. Oh, sorry, massive cough. Also, we get Killian, that doctor again. He finds Abby to be intense, and he talks about this with Clark when he's checking over her wounds. We also find out that he is a spy for the children of Gabriel, and he was the one that was doing drawings for them to kind of show who's the new people, who to take and everything. And he actually planned to kidnap Clark and bring her to Gabriel, which I'm assuming is the old man they keep referring to because they are all children of Gabriel. But he's the one that kills himself to avoid interrogation. And this all happened after he slept with Clark, so that's proving once again that another one of Clark's lovers ended up dying, this time by their own hands. But there's that. We do find out that the primes each have their own consciousness and their own flame chip. That gets transferred between each host, which is the whole purpose of naming day, is to take the consciousness that's in the flame chip and pass it on to a host that hold the night blood, the black blood, night blood thing, right? So that's how it's happening. So I guess before Aegis 3 left for their mission, they each had a chip embedded in them. So I guess to save what was learned while on the new mission or something like that. I mean, that's the only reason why I can think that they would do that, because also around that time Becca was creating these flame chips. But yeah, so it must have been around the same time she was creating it. It had to be before she created Ali 2.0. But because she also had one too, which had a part of the original code to it, I believe. So that ties into the whole Becca history with the flame and everything. So there's that. Another new character was Riker, which is the new mechanic that Raven meets, and he ends up being a prime as well. So his consciousness has already been swapped already. And it turns out that Delilah took on the host for his mom from the looks of it. So that's a little awkward there with the well, you know, outward appearance that looks a little weird because she's a kid compared to him from the looks of it. So, and yet it's the mom addressing the son. I don't know. But anyways, so we do meet Jade. She ends up being the bodyguard of Rhodes, like I mentioned, who unfortunately died. So there's that. And then also Maddie, she's seen briefly before she's dismissed by Clark to continue her training with Gaia back at the transport ship, because she took on the responsibility of being the commander. So now she has to go through with the training of how to deal with the flame and everything. So with Maddie gone, though, that means she might not be the immediate person to notice that there's something off with Clark. Oh, that's going to be something. So anyways, let's move on to tidbits very quickly. So from my understanding, I think naming day occurs on the host's 21st birthday. I don't know if that's true or if naming day is just always the same day every year. But Russell and Simone kept talking about the fact that the body isn't ready to take on that consciousness transfer until the brain is grown and ready at 21. That's why they couldn't do it to Rose if they found her, because she was still a child. She hasn't fully grown yet and for the transfer. So I'm assuming that it's Delilah's 21st birthday on her naming day. I have no idea, but that's what I've gotten with the information that was given. So there's that. Also, back to Dioza. She originally made a deal with Jade to secure her baby's survival within Sanctum. Because Rose was killed through all of this, she makes a new deal saying that if she kills the old man, then her deal to give her child sanctuary in Sanctum would uphold. So that's what she's off to do now, and she has teamed up with Octavia to do so, because Octavia wants to also... She noticed that there's one child of Gabriel that wasn't there when they were originally executed when they were trying to save them. So she wants to go and finish the job there. Also for Octavia, we do see her reusing Bellamy's story of slaying your demons when she was reciting it back to Rose. We initially saw this when Bellamy told Charlotte in episode 103 a long time ago. So that's a little parallel flashback there. Also, this episode doesn't feature Murphy, Amori, Miller, Jackson, Gaia, or Abby, though they were mentioned in some form or another from other characters. So there's that. Apparently they're all back at the transport ship, though, while Abby's also trying to look through the medical supplies for, I'm assuming, for Kane. So there's that. So ship status, everyone, Bellamy and Clark, you gotta love the fact that there were apologies. They had some things figured out and settled, and it got them a hug. So I'm glad for that, and we'll talk about that later. Clark and Killian, there was some flirting, then there was dancing, and then they had sex, and then there was paralytic dart, and then killing oneself, and then that was a very short affair right there. So there's that, and which was a shame too, because they both trained in the medical field, they can both draw, so I mean, it could have, in a normal world, they could have been a good fit. And that's coming from a Bellark fan, but I'm just saying, it could have been a nice thing for a while, but glad to see him go. It makes it even worse that he was a traitor, but at least he instilled a little bit of doubt in Clark's mind before everything went down. Although he is part of the reason why Clark got used as a host in the first place because he paralyzed her so she couldn't fight back. So it's like, I blame him too. So there's that. Raven and Riker, I'm seeing them bond over motorcycles. I'm seeing something else forming. It kind of gave me Raven and Wick vibes from season 2, if you can remember that far. But we'll see where that goes, especially if she finds out that what it means to be a Prime. So hopefully we'll see about that. Bellamy and Echo, we got some tension going on between them when he took out his anger when he was grieving and he's not seeing her grieve. But then they made amends. She ends up confiding him about how her parents truly died when she was 8, when initially she told him that she couldn't remember. So we do have them have a moment there as well. With Jordan and Delilah, we do see them spending the day together. We do see him telling her stories about his childhood on the ship and about all the faces behind the glass type of thing. And she repeats a paraphrase of that story in her last words to him, kind of saying like, don't let me be another face behind the glass type of thing. So there's that. Definitely the fact that after her naming ceremony, she came out as Priya the 7th. We know why she was acting indifferent towards him, and now that he's seen that shift, that might spark him to like kind of go like, wait, what the hell? You were just into me this morning, now you like don't want anything to do with me. What's going on? Type of thing. So there's that. Also, Octavia and Xavier, aka Dr. Clue from The Good Doctor. I'm seeing something starting in there. It kind of gave me similar vibes to how Lincoln and Octavia first started in season 1. I wonder if they're trying to go with that way again, because he definitely tries everything he can to either help her or try to not have her killed, and despite her aggression against him and wanting to stay away. So I'm sensing maybe something along those lines. Hopefully. I don't know. Because I still see him as Dr. Kalu, I'm hoping he's a good guy, Xavier. I don't want him to be a bad guy. I don't need him to be a traitor, even more so with my head. So I'm hoping he's a Lincoln 2.0. Although no one can replace Lincoln, but you get what I mean about like the stereotype they started with him being the enemy and then falling for our character. And you know what I mean. I'm going to shut up now. But also, Clark and Raven. We do see Clark attempt to apologize to Raven, though Raven is not taking it because she calls Clark out on the fact that she apologizes, yet she ends up doing the same action over and over again. And then she even compared Clark to Octavia and how the only difference between them is that that Octavia doesn't pretend like she feels bad for the decisions when she's insinuating that Clark does pretend anyway. So there's that tension there. I wonder if that's going to change when she finds out that Clark is not really Clark anymore. So there's that. So let's go and continue with most shocking one of the episode, the host possession things. And to be honest, I thought the idea was far-fetched when I read a fan fiction about it last week, and I've been trying to find it, but if I end up finding it while I'm editing, I'll put the name up on screen. But when I was reading it, it was well done, and I thought it was far-fetched because, like, would they really go into something possession reasoning like that? But then I was stunned that that's the route that it went with. It's just like, wow. Also, now that I think about it, because they showed the flame chip idea, like, the whole time I was reading, the whole reason I thought it was far-fetched because I was trying to figure out, how are you going to bring back, like, I was thinking more of a supernatural type of a possession type thing, so it's like, how are they going to do that within the realm of the 100? But now because they showed the flame chip, it makes sense. But also the shocking thing to this is the fact that how different this version of the chip seems to be in comparison to the commander's flame chip, because the way that one works is that you put it in and you get all the consciousness of the commanders into the newest host. So it's not like them replacing the host, it's them getting additional like voices in their head type of thing. While with these flame chips from the primes, it's more like it's using a drug to get rid of the original host's consciousness and then inserting their flame in and taking a different control. So it's very different to see the differences there. So I guess that was a shocker too. I didn't expect it to go this route, and because it's happening to Clark, I'm so mad that it's going this route because, well, I guess in the one way, because there's so many people that are kind of angry at Clark and for her decisions. I'm wondering if not having her there, if that makes sense, is going to have them appreciate just what Clark has done or has done for them, or what she's done for them. I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of like missing someone who's gone but not really gone, or vice versa. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how everybody reacts to that, for sure. To see Clark there, but it's not really Clark, and then trying to coincide with the fact that, well, I was mad at the original Clark. Should I be happy about this? Should I be upset? Should I still try to get the real Clark back? I don't know. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. But it'll be interesting to see that journey. It's very interesting when, like, I've seen it happen on the Vampire Diaries when season 5, when Catherine took over Elena's body and kind of like tried to trick people. So there's that. Seeing it with Stefan having his body taken control over by Silas and by Ambrose, I believe, in season 7 and season 5. So we saw that happening. Also saw it where else? On the Originals in season 2, where a bunch of the members of the Originals family were taking possession of other bodies and playing them off. And then also there's Supernatural as well, when you come to angel possessions, especially we get Michael and Lucifer possessing Sam and Dean at certain points. And then you got Cassiel being possessed by other bodies as well. And then, yeah, I'm familiar with body possession, so it'll be interesting to see how the 100 does it and how the characters react to that type of possibility, since it doesn't seem like they're in the know of the fact that it's possible. While the other shows, it's kind of like, it's magic, it's possible, why not? So, like, anyways, I'm going to shut up and just go to my 3 favorite moments right now. First one, obviously, you got to know it's Bellamy and Clark, for sure. The fact that we got them having their moment of forgiveness, the fact that the emotion behind it and the hug that you got for it. In fact, I even highlighted it when I did the quotes for it. The fact that Clark apologizes for leaving him. She said, in a quote, "What I did, leaving you like that, I'm so sorry, Bellamy." And then Bellamy goes, "I know what it's like to risk everything for one person, and Maddie is your family." And Clark counters, "Hey, you're my family too. I lost sight of that." I needed that so much. And then she talked a little bit more, but then she says, "You're too important to me." To Clark. No, Bellamy to Clark. And then he gets emotional, and then he hugs her. So he initiates a hug. And it's just like, yes, I needed it. I mean, it's kind of similar to when, like, in 313, when, like, they had that moment and, like, he's the one that initiated the hug with her again when she was apologizing for leaving him during those 3 months after what happened with Mount Weather. So it's kind of paralleled again, but to see all the emotion behind it and just to see them come away from it a little bit lighter, to the fact that we've cleared this up, we're on good terms now. It's like, yes, thank you. I've been waiting for it. I honestly thought, like, what we got in the premiere was pretty much all we're going to get about everything. But the fact that they went even further, and yes, it's like, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it hurts even more now to know what happened to Clark, and the fact that Josephine is now taking over her body. It feels like that moment between Bellamy and Clark was just like, that's a tease. Am I ever going to get the two of them together again, even in that capacity? And it's just like, ugh. But anyways, I'm not going to let Josephine ruin what a great moment that was for Bellark, so I'll leave it at that. Second favorite was the fact that we got, at the beginning of the episode, we got Jordan telling Delilah about his whole Faces Behind the Glass story, giving context to what it means for him, also reference back to what she brings up as well. It was very interesting to see his perspective of what it was like to grow up on the ship, where it was only his mom and his dad, Monty and Harper, that he interacted with, and then, like, how going into the decision to go into cryosleep with him knowing that that's going to be the last time he sees his parents again, and where he stood with them. It was very interesting to get that little bit of backstory and that little bit of understanding about Jordan, so that was pretty cool there. Another favorite I did have, despite the tragedy behind it, was Echo confiding in Bellamy about why she doesn't express her emotions like he does, and how that led to her telling him about how she remembers her parents dying, and just how much, pretty much telling him that it hasn't just been recent years she's been fighting to survive. She's been fighting to survive her whole life. And just seeing that toll on her, it's a favorite of mine because not only do we get a little bit more about Echo in that moment, but also because she's very put together. Like, it's like it would take a lot to see her break, and the fact that we got that in this moment, to see that vulnerability, is what I love, because it also shows that Echo is struggling. You may not see it physically, you may not see it as easily, but she is still struggling as well. And just to see Bellamy's reaction to that, and for him to actually realize that, oh, like, I underestimated what exactly she was feeling, or I didn't actually know what she was feeling, and to have her finally tell him was just an amazing moment to have. So despite the tragedy behind her words, I do love the significance that it held. And I feel like no better way than the whole traditions of the ceremony, if you forget the whole possession thing. It really had a moment. It kind of brings it kind of gives people the opportunity to be vulnerable enough to apologize or to confide in someone about all their sins, because that's what the day was about, was to repent for your sins and to let them all go and type of thing. So it was a great moment there. And another favorite I did have, even though the timer went off, was Raven meeting Riker. Before I found out he was a Prime, I thought maybe, okay, this is a possibility. But now that he's a Prime, I'm a little worried for Raven. But I'm glad that she was able to find someone that she could have a connection with when it came to her mechanical genius. Now that Monty's gone, she doesn't really have that now. And now that Shaw's gone, she doesn't get that either. Ooh, that's depressing too. Yeah, so there's that. Let's move on to top 3 peeved moments. Already, peeve, Clark and Killian. First off, the fact that they hooked up, that was a peeve because of the fact that they hooked up just after I got my Bellamy and Clark forgiveness moment. And it's just like, because I had so much Bellark feels already, and then to have it come around and be a Killian moment, or I don't know how to say it since they both start with C's. How am I supposed to combine them? But anyways, to have that is just kind of like, no, that's like against what my Bellark heart was aiming for. But then also that Clark and Killian was tainted by the fact that he was the spy and he planned to kidnap her to save her, as he claimed to be. And then to have him kill himself to avoid interrogation, proving that another one of Clark's loves died. I mean, the only safe one is Nyla at this point. So it's just like, no. I mean, on paper, they could have been a good fit, both of them being in the medical field, both of them being artists, really good artists too, he was. And then he just ended up being a spy, and he went about the wrong way of trying to kidnap Clark. I mean, if you just talked about it, why'd you have to paralyze her? I mean, he went a little backwards about it, but that's peeve there. We won't have to deal with it now since he's dead, but there's that. Another peeve I did have was the fact that Clark was forced to become a host. Another reason why I don't like Killian, because of the fact that he paralyzed her, pretty much disabled her ability to fight back. So it's your fault that Clark is no longer Clark, Killian. Thank you for that. Note my sarcasm. But anyways, let's move on to what we'll remember most when I look back on this episode. Clark is now the new Josephine. Now, how the hell do I tag that on Tumblr? Because there's no way I'm going to say, well, I guess I can do whoever than Josephine, and it's still going to be Clark, but that's like, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to do that. Damn it, that's more work. Sorry, I'm rambling, but let's move on. Random questions very quickly. First one. Since Clark, I'm really hoping this one's in my favor, but I was wondering, since Clark has had previous experience with the flame chip, if you remember back to episode 316, do you think that will give her an advantage against the Josephine chip that she was forced to take? I'm really hoping that Clark is not truly gone. Maybe she's just pushed into the subconscious. I hope that she's able to fight against the Josephine chip, or at least overpower it somehow with like all the negative that she's had to take in over the last, 7 years. So I hope that's the case. I hope something of her taking on the commander chip will help Clark against Josephine, but I guess we'll have to wait and see about that. Fingers crossed. Because I want Josephine gone already. Get out of Clark's body, like, right now. So there's that. Second question, sorry. Do the regular red-blooded citizens of Sanctum realize what is truly going on with the Primes? I mean, did Delilah know what she was accepting on her naming day? I mean, it kind of hinted at that maybe she did with her last words to Jordan, and like all these subtle hints about what naming day means and how like how her views are on it. As like, I'm wondering if the hosts know growing up and going into what it means to be a prime, or I'm also wondering if the rest of the citizens know exactly what it truly means to be a prime. So it's like, because like I'm wondering, would that change how they would view the primes? Like, would they treat them differently? Would they treat them as royalty if they found out really what they were doing, or would they treat it as a pity because and lonely because like the host would be pretty much being groomed and lived up to their naming day just to be killed off so that the original prime could take control. So it's kind of like with the easiest thing I can compare it to is Harry Potter, with the fact that he was groomed, pretty much the idea that he was groomed and taken care of and set on this path only for him to be sacrificed in the very end so that Voldemort could be killed. So if everybody already knew that that's where he was meant to end up, would they have treated him differently? Would he have viewed things differently? Would he have done things differently? So I was just wondering if any of the hosts, like Delilah, were in that kind of similar situation. If they knew beforehand, like, when it comes to naming day, that's it. Your existence doesn't matter anymore. You are now the host of a prime. Sorry if that went a little long-winded, but that's what I'm wondering there. And last question. Who do you think will notice a difference with Clark first? I truly hope it's one of the original delinquents, but I'm really hoping it's Bellamy that notices first. But I have a feeling that it's going to be Jordan, because he's the one that's going to be looking for a difference when he's trying to figure out what's wrong with Delilah. And then he might notice that there's something off with Clark. But then again, he only knows Clark through his parents' stories about her. So that's why I'm hoping if anyone's going to notice a difference, it's going to be Bellamy, who is still on speaking terms with Clark. Raven, she might notice a difference because Clark might be acting differently to the Clark that she's been mad at. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm wondering what that's going to be. But let's move on to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 605, it looks like Russell wants to keep the truth about the primes from the other Arkers. I'm going to call them the Arkers for now, just because for the most part, they're all pretty much Sky Crew, except for Maddie and Dioza. So, yeah, so he tells that. It looks like Josephine's journey is what we're going to see. It looks like we're going to see Josephine not only being in Clark's body, but also seeing the real Josephine as well. So maybe in those moments we'll see Clark being Clark, and then her acting against the real Josephine, who we saw in the flashback. So it'll be very interesting to see that. So that's going to be something there. But the synopsis for the episode reads that Jordan investigates Sanctum. Thank you for that. Also, meanwhile, Octavia and Dioza discover the threats of the new planet firsthand. I'm wondering if that's them learning new things from the children of Gabriel about inside Sanctum and not knowing that true threat, or if it's something else entirely. And also, lastly, Bellamy and Clark butt heads. When I first read the synopsis when it came out, I was like, what? Bellamy and Clark are going to be arguing? But now that I know that Clark is actually Josephine, I understand why they'd butt heads. So maybe them butting heads will be his indicator of the fact that, wait, something's not right with Clark. Right? Like, you know what I mean? So hopefully that will be an indicator, because I really do not want Clark to be gone for very long. Here's the thing I worry about, is the fact that with Josephine taking control over Clark, I'm worried about us still not having Clark. So this is what I'd hope would happen. I hope Clark's consciousness is still there. I hope maybe it's just going to be a mental thing on how, like, the real Josephine's going to be fighting against Clark in her head, but on the outside it's going to be Clark's body with Josephine's mannerisms type thing. It's very similar to how, like, the way I'm going to compare it is with Supernatural, obviously. So episode 1402 is the recent one where we got to see Dean, who's being possessed by Michael. So we see Michael's mannerisms in Dean's body, but when he's looking in a mirror, we still see Dean being Dean. So Dean's mannerisms in the mirror. So we do see that. Another example is in 522, where we see the real Sam in this black area, or the blacked out area, the real Sam, and he comes face to face with Lucifer, who is possessing Sam. So we get two Sam faces, but one of them is Lucifer's mannerism and the other one's the real Sam. So I'm hoping it's something similar to like that. But because it's actual, yeah, something like that. Another one is also episode 910, where it in Sam's mind we see the real Sam, and then we see Gadriel, the previous vessel of Gadriel, confronting Sam. Yet on the outside, it's still Gadriel possessing Sam, if that makes sense. So I'm really hoping it's more of those Mindscape ones where we see the host being confronted by the being that's possessing them type of thing. So I hope we get to see Clark in that manner. Because then, okay, I'll tolerate a little more about this whole possession thing. But if it's just going to be Josephine taking control over Clark and I have no idea what's happening to Clark's consciousness, I'm going to be a little more pissed about that. That's something similar that we got in episode 1401 of Supernatural, where it's just Michael we saw and we got no knowledge of what was going on with Dean during that whole possession. So that's something I'm a little on the fence about, but I'm interested to see what that is all about. So that is pretty much it there. In regards to news, we do know that, again, that it was picked up for Season 7 at the CW Upfronts on the 16th. It talked a little bit, it revealed once again that the 100 is going to be a mid-season return as well. They didn't really give much on the blurb about the 100. They kept it pretty much spoiler-free because we are still pretty much starting Season 6. So there's nothing much that could be spoiled in the blurb. So that's something there. I did make a video about the CW Upfront, so the link of that I'll be in the description below. Also, that video has a link to the actual press release if you want a little more detailed about that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. So what did you guys think of this episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your thoughts, theories, and opinions about all that good stuff. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog, promos, web quotes, quotes, GIFs, synopses, news, all the good stuff, all fun in one place. Go check that out. I'm more up to date when it comes to synopsis, clips, and promos. I just did it over the weekend. But, and maybe with GIFs, I know GIFs get reblogged a lot for the 100, so it's a little easier for me to catch up that way. But hopefully I'll catch up with it further as the summer continues and time frees up. So just be on the lookout for that. WordPress account, link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. We'll organize more detail, but again, still work in progress as well. I do have to update that as well. I gotta add the newest Season 6 stuff to it. So there's that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. This is a lot longer than I thought it would be. Wow. But I hope you come back next week to see what I have to say about the next episode. I really want to hear what your thoughts were about this episode, especially with what happened to Clark. So please comment down below. I'd love to hear that conversation and continue forward. But again, until next time, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Have a great day. Bye.